growing up in a household with both parents addicted to drugs and alcohol and violent towards one another, definitely set a tone for my life and my choices later on.
Hey y'all, welcome to another episode of Girlhood. Today I am so excited about our guest. This is the first time we're actually meeting in person, even though we've been on a bunch of Zoom meetings and phone calls, just kikiing for hours, and I absolutely love her. Every single time we talk, I leave so inspired and encouraged and built up, and she also likes to put me in check. Even if she doesn't plan on it, she gets me all the way together, and I'm so grateful, and I couldn't keep her to myself, so I had to bring her on to share with you guys. And every time we talk, I'm so in awe and amazed at the amount of wisdom she has. It's incredible, and just her boldness and her courage, but also her humility. And she's so beautiful. And so I just wanted to introduce you guys to Kim Kyle.
Hi.
Hi, my new big sister.
Yeah, definitely.
Big sister.
I feel the same way about you.
Oh.
Every time I talk to you, just my heart, it just be like, oh, Jesus, I love her.
Yes, this is the big sister I never had and I always needed. And I'm so grateful.
Oh, me too.
And I appreciate you driving all the way up here from San Diego.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
And bringing your twin daughter, your beautiful daughter over there.
That's right. That's my twinsy. No, it's a pleasure. I'm grateful that you asked me.
Yes, and you were down right away, which because I was a little nervous. I was like, what if she says no? But
no,
you're
like,
down right away.
Any opportunity I get to run my mouth, we good.
Yes, I love it. You're so encouraging and inspiring, and I know you do different speaking engagements, and you say you bring your daughter with you a lot. So
yeah,
I think for me that sounds really cool. Like I love talking to you, so I would love to come and just like be wherever you're at and speak. But for her, is it like, oh, mom again, or does she feel like, dang, that's my mama? That's really cool.
I think sometimes it's probably both.
Okay.
Sometimes she's like, I didn't hurt you 100,000 times. Plus, I hear you at home all the time.
Okay.
And then I think sometimes she's like, wow, you know?
Yeah.
And you get to do this.
Yeah.
And I get to be a part of it.
That's really
Which is
cool.
actually pretty awesome. I get to share that with her.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's really cool for her to not have to go outside of her home to find a role model or someone that can really encourage her and build her up, because everybody don't have that.
Okay, I'm not always a role model though, so don't be trying to set me up on no pedestal, girl, because that don't happen. Okay. I'm still learning too.
Yeah, that's
I'm
real.
still learning too. I never knew how to parent and I got a bunch of kids, but it took a long time and it was a process to come to understand that it's not about me, that it's about her.
Okay. Wow.
And it took a long time. It's a lot of dying to my own feelings to just be like, parenting is selfless, and I was selfish.
Okay. How long did it take you or at what point did you start to even realize that? Because a lot of parents never get to that point, and we got 40, 50-year-olds still struggling with their mommy and daddy issues.
Unfortunately, what's sad is that I went through 4 or 5 of her brothers when it was just like, this is my blessing. This is my privilege to do this. And it's not about me.
Yeah.
It's got to be about her.
Okay.
And so, and to get over my fear of parenting, especially a girl, to get over my fear of that, I didn't want to mess her up.
Yeah, that's real.
Does that make sense?
It does.
Like I didn't want to mess her up. I didn't want to give her what I had, because I had really nothing to give, and I didn't know how to communicate that to her, because I didn't have anyone there to communicate that to me.
Right.
So unfortunately, we perpetuate that kind of cycle. But it's up to us to it comes a point in your life where you have to break those cycles and do something outside of what you would originally do. And honestly, I would tell you the truth, it was my husband, because he was just like, look, she needs you.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. That's good. So, I mean, you've already kind of gotten it
There we go.
to where we're going.
Yeah,
so
I told you I get to talk.
Yeah, no, that's good. I mean, take us there, because you have such a story, such a journey, and you have experienced victory, but it didn't start at victory.
No.
So take us to the beginning. Take us to the start if you're down to go there.
Not to be like, I don't want this conversation to be sterile. So I'm not going to go like through every single thing.
Yeah.
But what I can communicate is that growing up in a household with both parents addicted to drugs and alcohol and violent towards one another definitely set a tone for my life and my choices later on. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And my mom, my mama was just gangster. My mom, girl, in the streets they would say she had more little game in her finger than most women have in a lifetime. My mom she was something else.
She's about that life.
Yeah, she's about that life. But my dad too.
So where were y'all from? Where were you born?
So originally we were in, I'm from Oakland.
Okay.
So, and we lived in Berkeley and Oakland, but we lived in Oakland when I lived with them till I was about 8.
So that's where Keisha Cole from, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We lived in Oakland. And, just that lifestyle is insane and it's unpredictable. I think that's the first lesson that I got in life. Like, everything is unpredictable. It's not the same from one day to the next. So it's a whole lot of instability happening. When your parents is on dope, you don't know what's going to happen.
Right.
You don't know if the police is coming today. You don't know, are you going to eat? You just don't know.
And you were firstborn, no like siblings to help watch out for you?
Yeah, I was the firstborn. So I have a younger sister. She's 8 years younger than me.
Okay. So it was you, your parents, and whatever was going on.
Right.
Okay.
Right. And, to be fair to them, I'm not bashing my parents. They did the best they knew how to do.
Right.
In the situation that they were in.
Right.
I will tell you that no matter what was jumping off, if somebody got beat up in the house or somebody OD'd, no matter what was jumping off, I knew they loved me.
Wow.
And one thing that my mother established with me and my daddy too, from the very beginning, they kept it real about everything. There was no lying, no sneaking, no none of that. One, because if the police show up at the door, I need to know what's up so they don't get popped. Right? But also, too, because they loved me. I knew they loved me. I didn't care what they did. And as they were in and out of my life over the rest of my life, because it was about 8 that they broke up when she had my sister, I always knew they loved me, no matter where they were at.
Yeah.
So, and some kids don't get that. They don't get that because, they're in the drugs and their story is different than mine. They, may get abused by their parents or whatever, but that was not the case for me. They abused one another. They was always fighting.
Right.
Always fighting, but they never abused me.
Wow. That's rare.
Yeah, it is. Because they had a foundation of what was right, but, drugs will take you out your body.
Right.
It'll take you out of what your morals and your ethics and your values are.
Absolutely.
Take you away from yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So what happened once you were 8 and your parents split up? Did you stay with one or the other? Did you go somewhere else?
So when I was 8, my mom left. My dad went with some girl he was with, and then I ended up going to my grandmother's, my mother's mom. Okay. And my Nana was a force to be reckoned with, is all I can say.
Okay. So she was strict. She was coming down with the rules.
Nana wasn't having nothing. She was, child is to be seen and not heard. You do
Old
as I
school.
say, not as I do. Okay. She was old school.
Gotcha.
But she definitely instilled some truth, some foundation in me, what was right and what was wrong.
Okay.
And then my mom came back and got me. We moved in with my auntie. My mom's issue was she was super pretty, super, super pretty. Had a whole lot of game. And attracted men like honeybees, honey. You hear me? Like, I'm serious.
I believe it.
And but the bad ones. Because they were in that lifestyle too.
Okay.
These 2 dudes that she was double dating you know, because like, she always kept it real with me, and she'd be like, did you like this one? Do you like that one? And I'd be like, I don't like him because he's crazy, and I'm trying to tell you he's crazy. And that's what happened, and the dude flipped out on her, slit her throat. And while I was there with...
As a kid?
Yeah, I was 8. I was holding my little sister. She was dating one dude. The other dude pulled up, jumped out the car at the liquor store, and slit her throat.
Oh my gosh.
And so that was pretty traumatic. It must have been, because I sure just brought that out.
Yeah. I was like, wait, we didn't discuss this one.
I know.
Wow.
And so anyway, so that was just to give you a feel of what that life was like.
Yeah.
And then I went 2 years with her. So from probably about 8 to 10 was probably one of the most traumatic, most hardest times, I think, in my childhood. Because she had been on heroin till I was 8. Uh-huh. But when we moved to Portland, we moved from Oakland to Portland when she was trying to get away from the dude that slit her throat, because she was going to have to go to court and all this other kind of stuff. So she ran. So we ended up in Portland where my other family was at, and she started smoking crack, and it changed her. It changed her from the mom that I knew to a whole different person. And that, I think between the ages of 8 and 10, I had to grow up real fast, like real fast. And my little sister was like 1, like still a baby. So I would stay home from school, wouldn't go to school because I didn't want to leave her in the house. And we'd be left by ourselves for 2-3 weeks at a time. And it was pretty traumatic. It was hard. But you know what I mean? It's not like, unlike some of the people you're going to talk to, or maybe that is even watching this, they've been there and done that. So it's not a sob story. You know what I mean? Yeah, this is just my story.
Right. This is what.
But this is the story for all kinds of children across the world. Right? This is the story that if a person can't identify with that background, they can definitely identify with pain. They can definitely identify with abandonment.
Yeah.
They can definitely identify with what's wrong with me. What's wrong with me?
Yeah.
I remember when my mom left my dad, I was relieved. I wasn't sad. I wasn't mad. I was happy. Like, it's about time. And later on, as an adult, she was like, if I'd have known you felt like that, I'd have left him before. I was trying to stay with him so that you would have a daddy. Okay, but y'all was crazy.
All the fighting. And
right,
trauma.
you know what I mean? So, but I remember when we went to Oregon, I remember thinking to myself, she had went by herself. It was just me, her, and my baby sister. And for the first time, I was like, it's going to be me and her. And we can do this. But then she sent for that dude to bring him up there.
The one that...
The other dude that she had been double dating on. And he was one of the worst predators that I think she ever didn't pay attention to. So... So that time frame between 8 and 10, I grew up really quick, had to learn how to survive. And she, basically was gone most of the time. And you left an unprotected child or unprotected girl in a house with a crackhead that you don't really know.
Yeah. So
that innocence was robbed. You feel me?
Yeah, I do feel you.
As I'm writing, I was telling you over the phone, as I'm writing my book, it's things that's coming up that's helping me to understand where my mindset came from.
Right.
My attitude towards men, my belief system, why I made the choices that I made. I think a lot of times we don't examine that as people.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, we just keep going because we're trying to survive. We're trying to forget.
Right, because you're in survival mode.
Right.
Right? But where did those self-mechanisms and that self-defense mechanism come up at?
Right.
Right? Because after being with him and after the stuff that he did, it was just like, I ain't never about to let no one make me feel helpless or weak ever again. And I made that decision at like 9. You're never going to make me feel helpless or weak.
Wow. So you were basically a little adult because you had no other choice.
Girl, I was gangster. No, I was playing. I know I don't look like no gangster girl. But I was gangster inside in the fact that I was hard. I had started hardened my heart. You can't trust people. You definitely can't trust no man. And, that was where I started forming those thoughts.
Okay.
But I still love my mama. And we still were super duper close all the way to the day she died a year or so ago, that we were super, super close. You couldn't tell me nothing about my mama. I don't care what she did, Anyways, from there, my mother went to jail while we were in the apartment by ourselves.
In Oregon?
In Oregon.
Okay.
And I will tell you, she was gone for like 3 weeks. It was like the longest. She wasn't at none of the crack houses. I went looking for her, all kinds of stuff. And the heat the lights got cut off and the heat got cut off, and it was like below zero in Oregon.
Oh my God.
And we were in that dark apartment, and my little sister was like 1, and she had this horrible cough. And she would cough and cry. And somebody knocked at the door, and I knew not to open the door, but I was just like desperate.
Yeah.
And I opened the door, and my grandmother was standing there.
So she knew.
Even then, somebody was looking out for us.
Wow.
You feel me?
Yeah.
And so my grandmother took us back to Berkeley.
Okay.
From there, my little sister ended up staying with my grandma and my aunties and my uncles. And I have a solid family on that side. Like my uncles, my aunties, like all of them was like, if anything you want to do, we'll support you. We'll put you in everything from music to you want to cheerlead, whatever you want to do. I had a really loving, kind family, and they loved me, but I didn't love me. You feel what I'm saying?
Yes.
So I was already at a place where here I've been grown, taking care of my own self, taking care of my sister, and all this other kind of stuff. And you put me back into this environment trying to tell me what to do.
And so now you're what? Like
trying
10?
to run my life. Yeah.
You weren't having it.
I wasn't having it.
Yeah.
So me and my grandmother, like this.
Because she old school.
Because she old school.
And you a whole adult.
Yeah. And she doesn't. She don't come from that, so she doesn't even understand it.
Oh, so she didn't come from that lifestyle.
Now I understand that she had it hard.
Okay.
Like super hard. Like, she's Indian, but her daddy is all the way black, and I think her mom was all the way Indian, but she died when she was like 12. And her dad worked on the railroad.
Okay.
And I may be getting this all messed up, but I know her daddy worked on the railroad, and then she had one older sibling and a couple younger ones that she take care of. Okay. And he would leave and they'd be hungry. So basically, she got married at a really young age to eat.
Wow.
You feel me?
Yeah.
So she had it pretty hard. Okay. So, but I think that drugs and all of that stuff was not, they couldn't understand how my mom, who comes from this awesome family, the baby of the family, they're stable, they're all of that, yes. how she ended up either.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
So, her way of dealing with stuff was old school, and it clashed with me. Right. Not to mention, girl, I was super hyper and always talking and sit your butt down somewhere, right? You got issues, wrong with you? Don't make me beat that out of you, So, and I know that was Nana's way. Nana's way of showing me she loved me was to keep a roof over our head, a stable environment, make sure dinner was on the table every night and all of that. But my grandmother was not affectionate, and she never would say I love you, and she wouldn't let you hug her. And coming from me, who was always looking for some kind of affection, we just did not connect. Right. And so by that time, I think I was like 10, my father popped back up. And he was going to take me and my little sister, and they were like, you can't take Sharice. You can have Kim.
Which is the baby.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can have Kim, and plus I wanted to go with him anyways. Because anytime I film, I'm like, I'm going. Right. Right. So I went with my daddy, and I think it was about 10. I want to say 10. And that's where I get it all messed up, but I think it was about 10. Make a long story short, and then with my dad, that didn't work out. My mother had got clean and was in Oregon. And was with a new dude. And this dude was a really good guy. Like a really good, she always got the good ones. They loved her to death. he was a really good guy. But about a year into me being there, she relapsed again and went back to jail. And because he worked every day, he was just like, I can't take care of this little girl. And he went next door to my best friend's house. They were twins, Drika and Zaire, and paid her step mama to watch me every day. Didn't know that the stepdad was a priv. So, and the mama was dying of cancer, and he was just gross. So that innocence is robbed some more. Now I've really made my mind that men can't be trusted.
Right.
Right? At all. Was sent back to my grandmama's, and by this time, that was it. I was running away from home, just attitude, just whatever, and me and her was just fighting left and right. And that's when she was just like, I cannot deal with this. I'm too old for this.
And so she had to send you away.
So she took me to a group home.
Where did you go?
I went to a group home in the heart of Oakland. So mind you, I lived in Berkeley. Okay, so, I might have been a little hood as a kid, but Berkeley, being with my grandmother for a couple of years, I mean, it's pretty settled and nice little community. And, of course, it's radical, right, on some, as far as the hippie movement and all that other kind of stuff. But for the most part, she had a house, and it was just real stable.
So what decade are we in when you were living in Berkeley? Is this the 80s?
Yeah, it's the late 80s.
Okay, so it's the late 80s. Okay.
I'm horrible with math, girl. So
no,
I was probably, I stayed with her from like 10 through 12. So 8 through 12. So yeah, it was, late 80s.
Okay, so that's when crack was like thriving, and at first everybody didn't know what it was. So people were just kind of trying it and didn't really know that was going to change everything.
That's how my mom got into all of that kind of stuff.
Okay.
But and so this is when Oakland started switching from being Black-owned businesses, communities, just a beautiful place.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know what Oakland was like before at all.
Yes. My father has a heck of a story too, girl. We're going to have to get him over here.
Okay.
But my dad's grandmother, my grandparents on my father's side was the first Black people to own their own store. So they're a liquor store, but they owned their own store.
Right.
First Black teachers, first Black government, and first Black person in the government. So we have like a real rich history on that. But Oakland was all Black owned businesses.
Wow.
The neighborhoods, the community came together. I mean, it was pretty. It was nice.
Wow.
And I don't think that anybody even realized that heritage or that legacy until later on when it all got destroyed.
Okay.
Also, that's where the Black Panther movement comes up at. It comes out of
Look, I don't know my history.
Yeah.
It's
fine because I'm not into all that stuff anyways.
All I know about is Too Short, E40, and Keisha Cole.
There's a rich history in Oakland.
Okay, I need to go visit. I've only been to San Francisco.
Well, no, not now. But girl, no, now we locking car doors. Like no.
Okay, that's how I've known what I've known about Oakland.
But what I'm saying is going from, you're right, it was in the epidemic of crack, and then coming from Berkeley, kind of having somewhat of a background. When I say I was gangster and I was a little hard, that was inside.
Okay.
But I never was in that life.
Right.
My mom and my dad was, but I wasn't in that life.
It was all around
you.
Right.
And I knew about that life. It was all around me, but it wasn't like I had experienced that life yet, right? So coming from my, my grandmamas and my aunties and all of them, educated, stable, beautiful community, all of that kind of stuff. She dropped me off in the heart of East Oakland in a group home with kids that was about that life, like for real about that life, and girls that were a lot older than me. So mind you, I'm like 12 at this time, and they're like, I don't think I was just turning 12, and they're like 16, 17, been in and out the foster system, in and out that system for their whole life.
So how did that make you feel? Your grandmother, like pretty much the only person you had taking care of you at the time, leaving you, removing you from the home.
I think the way that she did it made me feel some kind of way because she basically told me pack my stuff up and let's go. And I didn't tell me where we were going.
Yeah.
I think the way that she did that was...
So that was shocking.
So I don't think I was so much shocked. I remember the last time that I ran away from home, I ran away with my best friend. My grandma told me, you run away one more time, I'm going to just let you be able to run away. I'm going to put you somewhere you can run away from.
Yeah.
You know, and she wasn't one to like threaten you lightly. If she told you she was going to do something, she did it. So I kind of expected eventually they were going to have to do something.
Okay.
And, oh, excuse me, my little dress is all up. Don't be showing my business all on TV, girl. And so then, anyway, so she dropped me off in the middle of East Oakland in this group home called Kairos. Okay. And, you know, and, excuse my language, but they, just to get a feel of what that spot was about, they used to call them the Kairos hoes, right?
Okay. The kids in there.
Yeah, the girls,
okay.
Because, you know, all the dudes in East Oakland knew this spot.
Wow.
And so, I was there for a minute. The first night they jumped me. The second night I jugged one. So I realized, okay, I'll see what we about.
Right.
But because I jugged a girl and almost brought her whole eye out, they kind of didn't mess with me. And, you know, and at that time, I guess that garnered some kind of respect or whatever. And so I started running with these girls.
Right.
They was 16, 17.
And you 12.
I'm 12. Which don't matter because I'm, you know, we in the streets, you just in the streets. But so this group home didn't have, they had a curfew, but they didn't have a curfew.
Okay.
Because they could care less what you was doing. You know, they was getting their money. They didn't care.
Okay.
Right? So, but it was at this point, mind you, I hadn't had sex. I wasn't boy crazy, you know, because all the stuff I went through anyways. But let me tell you something. I never had a victim mentality. Okay. I never had, oh, poor is me, this is what was done to me. I never had a, stuff would happen and I could just shake it off. And now I understand that was my self-defense. That was my way to survive.
Right.
Right. But I wasn't tragic. I don't know if I'm explaining that right. There's some people, trauma happens to them and it changes them forever.
Right.
Right. And that's really real.
That is real.
You know, some women get raped and they cannot ever come back from that. I understand that. That just was not me.
Right.
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 And so because I had all of these things happen to me as a kid, I didn't realize how it affected me. But I wasn't with dudes. I wasn't trying to chase no men. I was cool with myself. Okay. You know? I had never drank before and never, you know, smoked nothing. And I was with these girls running around, and this is a pivotal point in my life. It did change my trajectory, I think, because we went to the park and we were hanging out with these girls. They got their dudes. It wasn't even their dudes, like dudes that they were talking to or whatever. Some little young thugs, and you know, we just hanging out at the park and talking, and they're drinking. Okay. And I never drank before. You know, but I'm with these older girls and I'm with these dudes, and they're just like, you know, drink this. And, you know, and it's so, and I, you know, you're going to talk to a whole lot of people. So it's so easy, right? It is. It's so easy to fit in than to stand out.
Right.
Right.
It's so much easier.
It's so much easier to just go with the flow. And honestly, like my mindset at that time was, I'll do anything one time anyway. Right. So it don't matter. Why not? Right. So I get told, you know, I'm drinking. This is my first drink. They're drinking. Okay. That's it. No, I was toe up.
It's your first time. You probably tiny.
Like super toe up, right? And so they start heading back across the park to go back to the group home. And I realized I had like this little backpack purse or something, and I left the purse. And I'm like, wait, hold up. I need to go get my, and they're like, we'll meet you over at the group home. So I turned back around. Mind you, all these dudes is out there. It's like 5 or 6 of them. And so I lost my virginity to a gang rape. And I will say, I think that out of everything that I've been through, that probably was the traumatic for me. It wasn't the rape, but it was the violence of it. And I was laying there. I remember very distinctly. I had a white Guess jeans and a like a black and white little cute little shirt, right? And my pants was dirty and bloody. And I remember I was laying there on that grass after all the dudes left, and I was trying to get up. Actually, it was in the bathroom because he slashed me in the bathroom. So I was getting up off of the bathroom floor, and I remember thinking, or maybe it was while I was laying there, but the thought that I had, and this is so crazy, but girl, this was my thinking. The thought that I had was, if you're going to take it from me, you're going to pay me for it. I'm never letting somebody else take something from me. Never. And if it must be valuable that you feel you need to take it. So you're going to pay me for it.
Wow. At 12 years old.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
And you meant that.
I meant that.
Yeah.
And so I got back to the group home, and one of the girls that was at the group home, she was like, this was like a couple months later, and then she was like running around with other people, and then she was like, want to come with me. Make a long story short, I ended up in San Francisco selling dope. Now, mind you, at this time, I had made a decision that I wasn't gonna be with guys.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm like living kind of like a boy.
Okay.
Right? And I'm in the streets, and I'm selling dope, and I'm, running with people, and, doing all this other kind of stuff. And I don't think my daughter heard this part. But, and so I met this girl. She was hoeing, or excuse me, prostitute. She was hoeing, whatever. I'm trying to be, I don't know if I need to, how you need to say it.
However you need to be.
And she was older than me.
Okay.
Right? So we were staying in this place in the Tenderloins in San Francisco, and it used to be this hotel that the dudes smoked crack, and all the kids stayed there, like all the runaways, all the gangsters, everybody. We all stayed in this hotel and we would give them crack. So that's how I was living, right?
The people that ran the place was smoking crack.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was a spot.
Yeah.
And I used to keep an extra room. So, and I always had a heart for females, like not just like in that lifestyle, but I just always was like, I always had a heart for people, period.
And you were close with your mom, and you saw your mom.
Right. So I used to keep an extra room, and I'd be like, if the girls needed somewhere to change, or they needed somewhere to just kind of, a lot of, they'd be burnt out, you could just stay at the room.
Okay.
So, and then me and this girl ended up developing a friendship, or relationship, or whatever you want to call it. I don't even know what it was, but I got turned out.
Okay. She's grown, you 12,
She's grown.
13. Okay.
Grown.
You 12, 13.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so one day I was just like, she was getting money, and I was just like, you getting money without taking penitentiary chances? Like, what you doing?
Right.
Right. And I want to say something. I think a lot of people think that dudes turn girls out, but I'm gonna be really honest with you. Females turn females out.
That's real.
You hear me?
Yes. They usually use...
Because that was me.
Okay. And they usually use women to go get the other women, right?
They don't need to use them. You gonna get this money.
Right.
Why would you give it up for free?
Okay.
That was my mentality. What? You want to sit around and play games and give it up for free?
Right.
When you can get paid? And so more females do that than the dudes do.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Without a man involved at all?
Sometime without a man. I didn't have no man.
Okay.
You feel me?
Yeah.
So
that's not really shared very often.
It's not shared very often how the prey can become the predator. And how your mindset changes in that lifestyle. And how you don't see it as I'm being a predator. I'm trying to show you how to come up.
Right.
I'm trying to show you what you worth.
Got it.
Ooh.
Trying to put somebody on.
You see how twisted that is, though? What you worth.
Yeah.
Isn't that what we're talking about?
Yeah, that is exactly what we're talking about. And everybody's looking for it.
Everybody's trying to get it back.
Yeah. That's real.
So she put me on.
Okay.
And she was, it ain't escorting, but she was not on the streets.
Okay.
She was doing at that time there wasn't the internet.
Right.
But people was like, anyway, so she had a lot of regulars that were really rich in like San Francisco and blah, blah, blah. And she was like, you don't have to do nothing. You just got to sit there and be pretty. That's all he want. And I was like, well, I could do that. Mm-hmm. And the first time I got paid $500 and that was it.
So did you look like a kid at this time, or did you look like a grown woman?
Mm-mm.
So you were sitting there looking pretty with these men, mm-hmm. and they knew you were underage.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, because you can see I don't look like an old lady now. So
right.
I had a real baby face then, a real baby face, and I mean I'm pretty sure they knew I was under 18 for sure.
Right.
They didn't care, but. Yeah, that was it for me. It was like, I could do this.
Wow.
And so that started a cycle of. No, I didn't go full blown into it. I just kind of was in and out. And then she went to jail. And at the time, I met my baby father, and decided, I was putting that lifestyle away from me. I didn't go all into it at that moment.
Okay.
I just kind of was doing, if I need some extra money, that's what I'm going to do.
Okay.
Right? And then I ended up going with my baby daddy. And that was 14. So from 14 to 18, I was with him.
Okay.
Yeah, I was settled down. And he was the one that encouraged me to go back to school, mm-hmm. get a job, all of that kind of stuff.
So he was a little older?
Oh, he was way older.
Okay.
I was 14, he was 24.
Okay, wow.
Yeah, 24, 25.
Wow.
And then I had a baby at 16 with him, my son DeJuan. And I was still a baby myself. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I was still a baby myself, and here I got this baby that's like dependent on me and wants stuff, and I need to be responsible. But he had encouraged me to go back to school. I was working. I was having this like real like stable life, and then I had my son, and I was like, okay, I can settle down. Mm-hmm. Since we're talking about identity and we're talking about worth, my daughter over there beating herself up. I was looking for something, right? Mm-hmm. I think that all of us spend our lifetime trying to fit into these different things that we think are going to make us happy.
Yeah.
We think are going to fulfill us. Mm-hmm. We think are going to satisfy, right?
Right.
So settling down and having a baby, and I'm working, and I'm going to school, and this is normal life.
Yeah, it was way more stable than what you were coming from.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But normal life was boring to me.
Okay. You had seen so much already by that age.
Well, and you got to understand too, like you get addicted to drama.
Yeah, that's real.
And you get addicted to the lifestyle. I think a whole lot of people think prostitution is just all about the sex. It's nothing about the sex.
Okay.
It's the lifestyle. It's the fast, just making it happen kind of mentality. It's the being out there, and my thing was I can make anything happen. If I want it, I'm gonna get it. Just that hustle.
Yeah, it's like an
however it is,
right?
The prostitution, if it's dope, if it's whatever, it's the hustle.
Okay.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so then when you try to settle down, you like normal life is boring. Right?
Yes.
Even if you was like a party girl, going to the clubs every weekend, you be trying to be all square bear. That's what we call it. You want to be a square bear. It's boring.
Right.
So, and then I just had this baby, and then my baby daddy started using dope, and he switched up on me, and we started fighting and all this other kind of stuff. And my son's grandmother came to me and said, Kim, you need to go find yourself. She said, you leave little DeJuan here with me and find yourself. Mm-hmm. He'll be okay. And it was an out that I didn't realize that I was taking an out.
Yeah.
It was just like, I'm going to do what's best for him. Because we fighting, and I don't want him to grow up like I grew up in that crazy, insane environment.
Yeah.
And my intention was, I'm gonna go for 6 months, maybe a year, and then I'm gonna come back and get him. That was
Your plan at the
my
time?
plan. And at that time, I reconnected with one of my cousins. She lived in San Diego. I was 18.
Okay.
And she was like, come out here, go to school. You know?
Yeah.
Get stable.
So now this is an opportunity to do better, get yourself together, come back and get your baby.
Right.
Right. Got you.
Right? That was my intention. And I didn't leave because I didn't love him. I didn't leave because I didn't want him. I didn't leave because of anything. I just really thought this is an opportunity to give him a better life.
Okay.
And then needless to say, my whole life went downhill after that. But came to San Diego, went to San Diego with my cousin. Now, mind you, I've been with my son's father since I was 14.
And that was like the only relationship you had.
Yeah. That was it. And so I went to San Diego and I was free.
That wasn't the plan.
Girl, it was on and popping. I was like, ooh, what's the whole world out here?
Because you were pretty much locked down, in a sense.
I was in a relationship,
Right.
like a marriage,
With
kind of
the
like
old
with an
child.
old dude that was like,
With an old dude,
you know what
24
I
old
mean?
dude.
And so then I go to San Diego, and my cousin was like, military guys.
Oh.
Ooh,
That's a whole nother situation.
that's a whole nother way to get paid.
Okay.
That's the mentality,
Right. Right.
right?
Yeah.
Because my mentality,
Right.
I'm getting paid. So that's a whole nother place, right? And honestly, a lot of people don't want to consider that. They don't consider that. You're not walking the streets, well, you're not trying to secure the bag in this way, but I'm securing the bag this way.
Right.
But what about the housewife that has more sex with her husband around the time that he gets paid? So she can use the credit card. What's that called?
That's a mentality.
It's a mentality.
Even be taken into marriage.
It is. It's a mentality. And so anyways, go to San Diego, turn up, partying, clubs, the whole thing, drinking. I wasn't never like addicted to drugs. I was a drinker.
Okay.
And I drank, partied all the time.
Okay.
But I wasn't on dope because I seen what dope did to my parents, and I was like, I'm good. I don't want to do none of that, right? And then, make a long story short, I met my husband, my first husband. And he was in the military, and he was a good dude, just a really good dude. He was a really good dude, and but I couldn't see goodness through me because I didn't feel worthy of goodness. So I couldn't see you as a good dude. I could see you as a mark. I could see you as a trick. I could see you as weak because you were a good dude.
Because your perception of men had been so shaped by the men that you'd experienced
Exactly.
up until that point.
And because in that lifestyle, everyone's a mark.
Right.
Right? Everyone's a mark. Everyone's a potential mark. So you don't see people, especially men, as someone who you could really have an investment with and can have an investment in you and have a relationship with. You see it as they're weak.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And so I don't know where we were going from there. Oh, and then my life just was, it was cool. We was partying, was kicking it, blah, 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 this, that, and the other. I had all kinds of dudes that I was dating because I wasn't working, per se. I was just going out and partying. And then my cousin and I got into it, and she put me out in San Diego, and I didn't know nobody, basically. And now I understand why she did that, because I was doing too much.
Okay.
I understand.
Okay.
I was pretty wild. But at that time, I hooked up with a gangbanger in the hood, and went into a whole different kind of lifestyle, like, you know, jacking people and just doing just crazy stuff.
Okay.
Right?
So
like
different ways to get money.
Different ways to get money.
Right.
Right? Because now I'm in San Diego.
Okay.
I don't really know nobody. I don't have nowhere to go. I have to hustle.
Right.
Be sure to click the link below to watch part 2.